We're live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 57th episode of the FilmBrony Podcast. I am of course the guy in charge of the podcast, Nick Canino, and with me, I'm not alone on this. I have a guest with me who started the whole podcast. So, would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, it seems like only yesterday that we did the last podcast, but since then we've had a couple controversial movies in theaters.
Yep, we're going to be talking about one today on today's podcast, and then we'll be mentioning the other one in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this podcast is just going to be another short one today because, besides the one of the controversial films we're going to be talking about today, and I have a rant, and I'm going to be ranting on said controversy. So, but yeah, not much is happening on today's podcast, but hopefully you guys will stick around and enjoy it regardless. So, anyway, without further ado, let's get on with our usual. Let's start with how we usually start the show, the Blu-ray showcase.
All right. 28 days later and 28 weeks later.
Nice. I'm going to be rewatching both of them to prepare myself for this.
I can't resist making this reference. He has risen, baby girl.
I also have this movie too.
Bluey seasons 1 to 3.
Great show. Great show.
The Brutalist.
I also have The Brutalist. My number 2 film of last year.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
One of Steven Spielberg's best.
So far, the best film of the year, Companion.
Companion was really good.
Gallipoli. The Godfather series.
Great series.
Groundhog Day.
That's a great film. Phil Connors. Ned.
Last Train from Gun Hill.
Nice.
Memoir of a Snail.
I also have that film too.
Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Great film.
74th version of Murder on the Orient Express.
The best one.
The Penguin.
Nice.
Rumblefish and Gardens of Stone.
Rumblefish is a really good film.
Sing Sing. And last but not least, the original film of Westworld.
Nice. All right, that's for mine. Hello, Eddie, and hello, Taz. Welcome to the podcast. I'm doing just fine. How are you? Anyway, now for my Blu-ray showcase. One of my favorite movies of 2014, Snowpiercer.
Indeed.
Next up, that's good to hear, man. Welcome to the podcast. Next up, one of my favorites of 2017, A Ghost Story.
Indeed, really good movie.
Mm-hmm. And then I mentioned this, Memoir of a Snail.
One of last year's best animated films.
Yes. Next up, a wonderful return to form for James Mangold following his fluke, A Complete Unknown.
That's a good movie.
Mm-hmm. And then I already mentioned, I might as well mention these one last time. The three A24 films that I have in my hands right now: Sing Sing, Baby Girl, and of course The Brutalist. And Boy, am I happy to have this in my hands. Continuing the dedication of honoring David Lynch, Blue Velvet.
Probably one of his best. Probably his best.
Yeah, it's debated. It's definitely like it's right now, like it's between this and Mulholland Drive as what I consider his best movie. Um, but
Still
yeah,
think he should have. Still think he should have won Best Director for Mulholland Drive.
I agree. I agree. Anyway, let's get on with our reviews. Starting with I might as well go first since there's two movies that I saw that I there's two movies that I saw, two independent films I saw. One of them one of them is the movie called Bring Them Down. Now, ever since I saw The Substance last year, I wanted to review more movies that were distributed by the streaming company called Mubi, Mubi, and this was a really good way to start out with. It stars Christopher Abbott and Barry Keoghan, um, and it's basically told in a non-linear narrative. It's shown it's shown in a non-linear narrative involving an Irish shepherding family who faces conflicts on multiple levels. Multiple levels. They deal with internal discord, family tensions, and a rival farmer while grappling with cultural and generational issues. I really like this movie. Hey Ethan, welcome to the podcast, dude. Um, anyway, as I was saying, this was a really good way to. I I picked the right one to start out in terms of movies that were released by Mubi in 2025. Um, for a non-linear narrative told in two perspectives, not only did the story feel well structured, but it also felt intriguing too. And for his first time directing a movie, Christopher Andrews did such a very good job with the way he shows the events being played out in two perspectives. I was also really impressed with the screenplay as well, especially with how it had a lot to say with exploring its themes on toxic masculinity and generational trauma in farming communities. The acting was terrific, especially from Christopher Abbott and Barry Keoghan, who were easily two of the biggest standouts in the whole film, mainly due to how powerful and menacing the performances came off as. It has an excellent musical score, fantastic cinematography, very good editing, and I was also really impressed with how it doesn't hold back from showing the real tension and suspense, as well as its brutal violence. I'm not going to give away what they showed here, but some of the brutal violence shown in the film had me on the edge of my seat. If I had to point out two issues with the film, I would say there's a couple pacing issues in the middle of the second act, and I wasn't a fan of the ending. I was not a fan of the ending. I get the decision behind it, but to me, it felt a little too vague. Um, I heard about that. I heard about that, unfortunately. But overall, I found Bring Them Down to be powerful, gripping, and intriguing, featuring two. I found Bring Them Down to be a powerful, gripping, and intriguing Irish thriller featuring two brilliant performances by Christopher Abbott and Barry Keoghan. 8 out of 10 or a B plus. I really enjoyed this movie. Um, Next up is Hard Eyes. Um, the second film, the second film to come out this year, centered around Valentine's Day, and it's a romantic comedy slasher film involving a mass maniac with glowing red eyes returning every Valentine's Day to slaughter unsuspecting couples. When a cynical ad executive and her hopelessly romantic colleague become the next target, they decide to fight back and end the reign in terror. Hard Eyes was okay. Hard Eyes was fine. Um, it was a lot better than what I saw from the trailers. From the trailers. Let me see. All right, let me see here. Let's see what my positives. Okay, so the acting was solid, especially from Olivia Hall and Mason Gooding, who were easily the biggest standouts of the whole film. Not only did they give us some very good performances as both Allie and Jay, respectively, but they also had really good chemistry as well. It, it had a really good musical score, excellent cinematography, solid editing. The mask of the Hard Ice Killer looked really cool. And the kills, wow. Like, wow. The kills in this movie. Like to say the kills in Hard Eyes were both powerful and effective would be an understatement. And the use of practical effects added a very nice touch to how powerful and effective they are. Um, so, but okay, and the ending was very satisfying as well. Also, 25% of the comedy presented in the film, mainly from the first act, felt surprisingly witty and clever, and I was very satisfied with the way it ended. Now, as much as I found Hard Ice to be surprisingly decent, I do think it could have been better. I felt the screenplay could have used some improvement on the dialogue, especially with how clunky it felt at times. Most of the characters, minus Allie and Jay, feeling underwhelmingly wooden and forgettable, and how it doesn't quite balance its slasher and rom-com tones all that well. Like it doesn't mesh it all that well. I did think the directing, well, I didn't think it was directed all that well. Minus the kills, since everything else he directed came across as being a muddled mess. I also didn't laugh at 75% of the comedy that was presented in the film in the second and third act, since they felt either cringy or overdone. But two of my biggest issues with the film are that the first is that it's very predictable. Not just in terms of the story, but with the reveal of who was behind the mask of the Hard Ice Killer. And the reason and the reason for it, I get why they did this, but it felt underwhelming to say the least. And finally, let's talk about my second and final glaring issue I have with the film. And that is the fact that this movie managed to pull one of my biggest pet peeves in movies. And that's the fucking false alarm jump scares. I'm not kidding. Like there were maybe like 3 or 4 false alarm jump scares presented in the film, and they all got on my nerves really quick. Like, do I need to say this again, guys? False alarm jump scares, especially if they're false alarm, are not scary. If you're going to do jump scares, if you use false alarm jump scares, you ruin the tension you're even trying to go for. Like, for goodness sake, guys. Like, jump scares only work if you not only build tension and suspense, but if you make them unpredictable. That's what makes jump scares work. But with Hard Eyes, with the false alarm jump scares, it's just there for the sake of it. So, for my overall thoughts on Hard Eyes, it's unfortunately predictable, especially in its story and reveal. But Hard Eyes is nevertheless a fun and decent rom-com slasher Valentine's Day film. So, and yeah, I know it's only April and Valentine's Day was already 2 months behind us, but whatever. Better late than never. 6 out of 10 or B minus. A fine film, but it could have been better. And the next movie is my first A24 film of the year, which is Parthenope. It's directed by Palau Sorrentino, the director of Youth, which I really enjoyed. And in this movie, we follow the beautiful Parthenope who searches for love in the heady hot summers and endless nights for her youth in Naples, Italy. as she falls for the city's many unforgettable characters and finds herself in the adventures that make up a lifetime. This one, this this is the first A24 film. So this is the first movie distributed by A24 I've seen this year so far, and it's okay. It's all right. Um, yeah, it's a mixed bag overall. It's well directed since you could see the vision and passion he had behind the camera and how he guides us through 6 decades of the titular character's life. The acting was great, especially from Celeste Della Porta, who gave out such an excellent breakthrough performance as the titular character. Also, if I mispronounce that name, I apologize, but still. And although he's not in the film that much, Gary Oldman also gave out a very good performance in the film too. It has a brilliant soundtrack, not to mention the cinematography in Parthenope is absolutely fantastic and a perfect candidate for one of the best looking movies of this year so far. Especially with how the DP of the film was able to capture some of the beautiful shots shown in the film. And although it did feel rushed, I nevertheless found the ending to be pretty solid and satisfying. Now, what held it from being a good or great movie? Well, the story was all over the place, especially since it couldn't decide if it wanted to be a coming-of-age drama or a religious drama. And while Paolo Sorrentino does a great job with the way he directed the film, I cannot say the same for his screenplay, since it tries to say a lot involving its metaphors and themes on beauty, disruption, and time, but they sadly never came to fruition. There were also some editing choices made throughout the film, especially with some of the slow motion shots that felt jarring and uneven. And the pacing and runtime were easily two of my biggest problems with the film. Now, I understand the decision to make the film 137 minutes long, but there were some scenes that in the film that drag on and on and on to the point where I was starting to get bored of this film. And the pacing was a sluggish mess too as a result of this. Also, this movie also has one of the weirdest looking things. Also, it's no surprise that yeah, I heard about that too. We will talk about that in the next podcast. No worries, Taz. We'll talk about that on the next podcast. And we will get to that remake very soon. So, to be honest, Disaster Movie is still my least favorite movie of all time.
Yeah, same here.
Anyway, getting sidetracked here. Also, this has one of the weirdest. This also has one of the weirdest things I've ever seen in a movie. Like, like. You want to talk about a character, a morbidly obese character? Look no further than this. Like, look at this. Like, what the hell? What the hell is that? Like, he looks like a chubby baby.
I'm out of here right now.
Like, he looks like a chubby baby.
Yeah.
He looks like a chubby baby who had too much to eat. Oh my god. Now, A24 is known for putting a lot of weird stuff in movies. There's no denying that. But this is definitely one that is just like, what? It's just like, what the hell? Yeah, overall, while the film does feature Celeste Dalla Porta delivering an excellent breakthrough performance as a titular character, and it has some memorable moments here and there, I sadly found Parthenope to be a well-meaning but underwhelmingly shallow and unsatisfying film. It's not a terrible film, but it's not something I'm gonna remember as time goes by. Yeah, overall, it wasn't good or terrible, just weak. 5 out of 10 or a C plus. Like I said, not good, not terrible, just.
Now we're going to get to Captain America Brave New World. And this is one of those movies that's been getting a lot of mixed reviews when it first came out. And frankly, I didn't think it was that bad. I mean, let's go over the positives. I felt the CGI felt a bit wonky, even with this $180 million budget. And the character of Falcon, I felt was kind of annoying when he got downed in the second act. I was kind of bummed out, but also kind of relieved I didn't have to hear his Marvel humor during the climax. But other than that, I found it to be an intriguing political thriller with some neat performances, especially Anthony Mackie and Harrison Ford. The and Yeah, it's got some pretty fun action scenes, especially the flying scenes and the climax with Red Hulk. So this is one of the more underrated films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and one that's gotten me intrigued to see where it goes next. And I'll give it the seal of approval.
For me, this is one of the worst movies of the year so far. It's not the worst movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That goes to Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. But this is definitely its second place. Now, there are some good things in it. Anthony Mackie and Harrison Ford both give off some very good performances. The musical score was solid, it had great cinematography, and there's a couple of action sequences, and there's some action sequences, mainly in the first act, that are a lot of fun to watch. But let's talk about my issues with the film and why I absolutely think it's one of the worst films of the year so far. The story was all over the place, especially with the cramming in some subplots that either felt undercut or go nowhere. The screenplay was absolutely atrocious. This movie had 5 writers. 5 writers! And what we got were these following things: bland dialogue, lackluster characterization, and a very uneven tone where it can't even decide if it wanted to be a superhero film, a political thriller, or a comedy, as well as bringing in one of my biggest pet peeves in movies, and that's when it felt the need to spit out exposition, especially in some of its dialogue. Like, for God's sake, guys, we already know what's going on. We already know what's going on. Like, you don't need to spell it for us. The directing, I was also very disappointed with the directing. It's directed by the guy that did Overlord, which was really good, and I don't know what happened here, but the directing was shockingly a muddled mess. Like, I don't know what happened here. While the rest of the acting wasn't terrible, it wasn't that great either. Like, especially from like Giancarlo Esposito, who was horribly wasted in this movie, and so was Shira Haas and Carl Lumbly and Liv Tyler, and even poor Tim Blake Nelson, since all of them are not given that much to do in the film. All of them, especially Tim Blake Nelson, who I'm not gonna. Well, it's not. It's not just because of that. It's not just because of that. No, 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 no. but yeah, there's more to that. Um, the editing was all over the place, and dear lord, the pacing in this movie. This movie was 118 minutes long with credits, and it felt like it was going on for 3 hours. And while the first act did have some solid action sequences, the rest of the action sequences, especially the Red Hulk fight towards the end, felt very underwhelming. Thanks to its poor editing, and the other thing I am definitely going to criticize this movie for having terrible CGI effects. While Ant-Man the Wasp: Quantumania still holds the candle for having the worst visual effects I've ever seen in an MCU movie, Captain America's visual effects are definitely a close second. Not only did most of them look very sloppy, but some of them looked unfinished. How in God's name this cost $180 million to make is something I'll never understand. And on top of its very lackluster ending, its mid and post credit scenes are terrible ways to introduce the Phase 6. And you know what? I'm gonna try to like keep this brief for a bit. I'm gonna try my best to keep this brief, but it's something that really did bother me when I was watching the film. Now, it's no secret that Captain America and the previous MCU films have dealt with political themes before. But the problem with the film's political subject matter depicted in Captain America Brave New World is that not only did they feel poorly executed with what they were trying to say about modern America, but when it's so poorly timed to the point where the political subject matter shown and depicted in the film sadly reminded me of something that's been going on in the real world, it really takes me out of the experience. I'm not going to say what it is, but it really did take me out. It really did take me out of the experience. And worst of all, because of the poor timing, it ruined its concept involving Ross becoming Red Hulk. The concept did have potential from the very beginning, and they blew it. And yeah, he gets very little screen time in the film. That was another thing that they blew it. That the Red Hulk. That's another thing that they blew it on. Give the Red Hulk more screen time. Yeah, overall, it may not be the worst film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but Captain America Brave New World is nevertheless one of the most horribly misguided, frustratingly convoluted, and inconsistent movies I've seen this entire year so far. And it is heading on my list for one of this year's worst movies. It's not as bad as Ant-Man the Wasp: Quantumania, but this is just one of the worst movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I wanted to have fun with this. I wanted to be surprised and have fun with this movie, but man, I really did not like this one. 2 out of 10, or a D, Pass.
Now we're gonna get to Paddington in Peru, and thankfully this movie continues to be as charming and heartfelt as the previous two movies, with its special effects and the shenanigans the titular character goes through, and it's got some really good actors, especially Ben Winshaw, who continues to be great as Paddington. However, I felt it to be the weakest of the series since it's rather slow and I felt to be too many characters and plot lines. But regardless, one of the weakest of these movies is still better than anything uh, from what's that YouTube channel's name? It's in the top. Still, when the weakest of these movies is still better than that YouTube channel, this series is still good. I'm still giving it the seal of approval.
And yeah, it makes no sense whatsoever. Makes no sense. Well, we're still going to review it. If these Disney shows are going to get me, if I are going to get us, so be it. So be it. We will not change our minds. And you know what? I'm gonna put this disclaimer too when we talk about it soon. So I agree with Soren. It's the weakest of the three movies, and I agree with Soren that Paddington in Peru is the weakest of the three movies, and yet it was still really good. And yet I still really like this movie a lot. Um, what did I mean? What what shit shit. I'm trying to like I'm trying to think of what I was going to say. Oh yeah. The reason it's the weakest of the three movies for me is because um it isn't as tightly paced compared to the first two, since there are some pacing issues in the first and second act, and it can be predictable when it not only comes to the story but to some of the characters as well. I mean, but to Olivia Colman's character as well. Um, but despite that, it's still very charming and enjoyable. I mean, the story still felt highly engaging. The writing was solid. It's nicely directed. The score was good. It's got excellent cinematography, good editing, very good visual effects. It's still very funny, and the acting was very good, especially with Ben Whishaw, still excellent as the voice of Paddington. While everybody else, including Hugh Bonneville, Emily Mortimer, Julie Walters, Jim Broadbent, Madeline Harris, Imelda Staunton, and even Olivia Colman and Antonio Banderas giving us some great performances as well. And the way it ended too was really satisfying. What I meant to say is, when the weakest Paddington movie is still a masterpiece compared to Cocomelon, you know it's something. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I know you were joking. I just I I just wanted to make my point clear. That's all. But anywho, I found Paddington 2 to be, even despite Paddington in Peru being the weakest of the movies, I still found it to be very entertaining and charming. And you know what? And you know what? I want to see a fourth film now. So yeah, 8 out of 10 or a B plus. I really enjoyed it.
Next, we're going to go to Oscar Perkins the Monkey, and this movie is half good. The first half I found pretty solid, as these two young boys had to deal with this cursed monkey toy being linked to these Final Destination accidents. But once they become adults, that's when it lost me. I found them both. I found the characters pretty unsympathetic, and the movie overall slow. Like it had me
I think
twirling,
that's the whole point.
and it kind of had me twiddling my thumbs for the next accident. I didn't think the theme of brotherly reconciliation really connected with me, and without going to spoilers, I just didn't care for the ending. So while I didn't hate this movie, I didn't love it as much as I wanted to, and I hope Keeper is a better movie for Oscar Perkins this year. So I'll give it an unfortunate C of mediocrity.
I I like this movie, but don't expect it to be like long legs. Don't expect this one to be like long legs, since I still think that's the better film. Um, I agree. Now here's the thing I have with this movie. The third act did feel a bit rushed, and the pacing was a the pacing can be a bit of a clunky mess at times, and not all the humor landed. But despite that, I thought it was really good. I thought it was a really good. I actually really liked this movie. It had solid writing and great directing by Oscar Perkins. The acting was great, especially from Theo James, who was brilliant as both the identical twins, Hal and Bill Shelburne. And Christian Convery was brilliant as the younger versions of Hal and Bill as well. I love this. The score was great. It's got excellent cinematography. Oh yeah, and never mind about the pacing. Actually, I want to say that there's a couple editing choices that did feel a bit clunky at times, but again, that's really it. Its pacing is solid. I do apologize if I said that the pacing is a clunky mess, because it's still solid overall. And the kills in this movie, man, oh man, the final like I wouldn't be surprised if the director of the film was inspired by Final Destination with these kills, because my god, the kills, oh man, they are brutal. And the midst and in the midst of some of the CGI as well as the practical gore effects worked very well. Very well. And that last kill that last kill in the movie, like, oh my god. Oh my god. But yeah, overall, I really liked the monkey. I thought it was an entertaining horror film. I thought it was an entertaining black comedy horror film that I'm going to give an 8 out of 10 or a B plus to. I really enjoyed it.
Next, we have Last Breath, and this is based off the true story of this DC dive gone wrong, and I found it to be really tense. Well, after a pretty slow start, it kicks into high gear, keeping me at the edge of my seat as these guys are trying to rescue this diver that's been stuck underwater for over half an hour. The cinematography and the editing are solid, and it was it was altogether satisfying near the end. So I'd say give it a watch, seal of approval.
I really enjoyed it too. Yes, the pacing is a clunky mess in the first act. In the first act, and I did wish we could have spent like seven more minutes with some of the other characters, and it does throw in some cliches you have seen, and you have seen many times in other films before. But this was overall a very good film. I was highly engaged in the story. It's very well directed. The script is the screenplay is solid. The acting, especially from Woody Harrelson, Simu Liu, and Cliff Curtis and Finn Cole, were all terrific. The score was brilliant. It's got excellent cinematography. The editing is solid, and the sound mixing and design was terrific. The sound mixing and design is terrific, and I don't know what technical aspects they used to make it look like the actors are really to make it look like we're actually underwater with these characters, but man, how they did it was just incredible. And I agree with Soren. I really like the way it ended too. So overall, I found this movie to be gripping and entertaining. I found Last Breath to be gripping and entertaining, and I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 or a B plus. And we're going to reach our next review is that new Snow White film, and I gotta give out this disclaimer because it's been roiled in controversy. So here we go. Given that the controversy of the film was under, and how some people are saying, they paid them, or they paid the critics to get positive reviews. Let me bring up this disclaimer right now. This is a strictly honest and civilized review of Snow White. Do not come and attack us just because you don't like what we have to say about this movie and our reasonings for it. Film and art is subjective. You can form your own opinion on the film if you've seen it, but do not be an asshole to others that either like or dislike the movie. Okay? Alright, so moving on.
Man, this remake has been getting all the bad press. From Rachel Zegler's comments about the original, to the set photos, to the trailers making the dwarves look something out of the Polar Express. And after seeing it for myself, I thought it was okay. Going over the negatives first, the CG. Yeah, the CG is just as bad as you've heard, especially on
Oh
the
my god, the CG.
And remember the set photos with these bandits that looked like they were gonna replace the dwarves?
They
Well, apparently,
serve no purpose.
yeah, they're still in this movie, and they serve no purpose. Yeah, but, regardless, I found most of the performances good, especially Rachel Zegler. The original, the songs old and new, I felt to be fun, and the story about standing up against tyranny, I felt really compelling. So, not so I didn't think it's one of the best live action remakes, but certainly far from the worst. It's more in the mid, seal of accuracy.
Alright, so what's your rating again? Hey Soren, what's your rating?
Seal of accuracy.
Okay.
Seal of accuracy.
Okay, thank you. Alright, so okay. Okay. Is this the worst? I know what you're all gonna ask me. Is this the worst? Is this the worst live action remake? Is this the worst Disney live action remake I've ever seen? No. The Lion King 2019 is still worse. There are some good things in this movie. Zegler's performance was Rachel Zegler was easily the biggest standout in this movie as Snow White. Look, say what you want about her, but she say what you want about her, and trust me, I have a quick rant. I gotta get off my chest really quick after this is over. But after we review this movie, but yeah, she was easily the best thing in the film as Snow White. Snow White. It's very well shot. The cinematography was absolutely terrific. Like was very good. Like especially with the way like it's shot and stuff. And it has some really good costume design as well. So, and besides Rachel Zegler, I also really like Andrew Burnap as Jonathan. He was also pretty solid in the film, but overall, yeah, this movie was a mess. This movie was a mess. The story was all over the place. The writing was atrocious. It's poorly directed. The rest of the acting, I the rest of the acting wasn't horrible, but it wasn't that great either. For me, the worst performance in the film has to go to Gal Gadot as the evil queen. Like, I don't know if it's the directing, but good grief, the way she hams up her performance as the evil queen, I was like, what the hell? What the hell is she even going for in this? I didn't find all the songs to be I didn't find any of the songs to be memorable all that much, and then it's clumsily edited. It's clumsily edited, poorly paced. Uh, and you guys knew this was coming. You guys knew 100% this was coming. The fucking CGI in this movie, like this movie has some of the worst CGI effects This movie This movie is a candidate for the worst CGI effects I've seen in the movie this entire year so far. This cost nearly $270 million to make, and yet this movie looks like And yet with the animals, they look like something out of a video game. And as for the dwarves, you knew I was going to mention these fucking things. These fucking things. They are uncanny valley. And they are seriously uncanny valley. Especially in this scene where the movie does a little close up on Dopey's face. Like, look at this. Look at this. It looks like if Dopey got butt fucked by Alfred E. Newman of Mad Magazine. Oh yeah, and this sound clip I'm gonna play perfectly sums up the CGI dwarves. And here is the sound clip. Like, guys, you have 200 and you made this movie for 200 and almost 270 million, and you couldn't make the dwarves look this good. And you know what? I find it really pathetic I find it really hypocritical and tone deaf that Disney is trying to like in their live action remakes are trying to prove to like inclusiveness and diversity when guess what? They don't even include real dwarf actors to play the seven dwarves.
And yet one of the bandits is also played by a dwarf, little person.
Like seriously, how tone deaf and incompetent do you have to be, Disney? And let's talk about this fucking ending. The thing that also pissed me off about this movie is the ending. I'm not joking when I say this. This is one of the worst endings I've ever seen in a movie. I am not joking. The way it ends makes no sense whatsoever. After confronting her stepmom, this is going to contain spoilers, by the way, but I don't care. I don't care. That's your warning. Let me spoil this movie. So after Snow White confronts her stepmother, who forcefully goads her to take the throne and also placing a diamond dagger into her hand, Snow White refuses to hurt her, reminding people what the kingdom used to be like under her parents' rule, and it's basically saying, remember when our kingdom used to be good. And then, moved by the memories of the prince and the princess's kindness, the guards stand up to the queen and join Snow White's friends, the bandits, and the huntsmen and the civilians. The queen tries to attack Snow White, but the dwarves and bandits defend her. But like by the way, where the fuck did they come from? No, seriously, where in the fucking hell did they even come from? The magic mirror tells the queen that Snow White will always be fairer than her due to her kindness and justness. And Snow White arrives to see the queen destroying the mirror, which is revealed to be the source of her powers. Which, by the way, when that happens, it looked like something rejected from like one of the. It looked like something that was rejected from those shitty Venom movies. And as a result, she turns into glass herself and disappears into a vortex while the magic mirror repairs itself, which causes Snow White to be the new queen at a grand celebration, and she rules the land justly. Hey, Disney, Mark Platt, I have a message for you involving this ending. You're a bullshitter, Disney and Mark Platt. And before I end this review with my final thoughts, look, I don't agree with what Rachel Zegler said about the original film either. And I do think, and look, her comments involving her and Godot's proposing views on the Israeli and I don't know how to pronounce it. Palestinian conflict, like, look. As much as I disagree with her comments involving the original film and how she and Godot definitely let politics get in their get in their heads, even though they're allowed to voice they're allowed to voice their opinion and stuff. Okay, look, I don't agree with these people, with these lunatics, like constantly bullying her a lot. Like, do these people not even realize that what it's doing? Do these people not even realize that this could actually affect one's mental health with this type of behavior? Like, this is why I do not condone like harassing actors or actresses unless they absolutely deserve it for the crimes they committed. And you know what? No joke. By the way, one idiot compared Rachel Zegler to, and I'm not making this up, by the way, compared Rachel Zegler to that one other YouTuber, who was formerly a My Little Pony reviewer, turned into a. Oh yeah, it's popping my mind now. There was one YouTuber who literally compared Rachel Zegler to Lily Orchard.
How does that make any sense whatsoever?
There were no reports of Rachel Zegler like committing sexual assault. Yeah, her comments. Yeah, I did think. Again, her comments could have been. I do think her comments could have been worded out better. But come on, harassment and bullying makes it worse. Like, I do not condone harassment or bullying of Rachel Zegler. I don't condemn that. I don't endorse that. I condemn it. So if you're one of those people that like is continually harassing Rachel Zegler all because you don't like what she says, please kindly get off the internet and get some therapy. Please. Anyway, this is gone for far too long, but don't even get me started. Overall, Snow White may not be the worst Disney live action remake, but it is definitely. Oh, that was the worst one of all. That was the worst. Along with the actor that played Jar Jar Binks. See, this is why I hate toxic fan bases in general. Yeah, overall, it may not be the worst live action remake, but nevertheless, Snow White, the live action remake of Snow White, it's definitely one of the most cynical, soulless, and reprehensible Disney live action remakes I've ever seen, and it is definitely a candidate for one of this year's worst movies as well. 2 out of 10, or a D. Yeah,
Let's just get to the pick and dog of the show.
please.
Now for my pick of the show, with the recent passing of Val Kilmer, I wanted to go with one of his best films, so I went with one of my favorite movies, as well as my favorite animated film of all time, The Prince of Egypt. This is one of those movies that's been getting that got a ton of buzz when it first came out, but then quickly fell off the radar. But then more recently got a massive cult following, which is well deserved. This movie is much like the Ten Commandments in that it tells a famous Exodus story only in half the runtime, and it's safe to say it surpasses it. From the massive ensemble cast, from Val Kilmer to Ray Fiennes to Jeff Goldblum to Patrick Stewart to Steve Martin and Martin Short. The chemistry between Moses and Ramesses is emotionally compelling and tragic as it goes along. The animation is a sight to behold, as with its seamless blend of 2D animation and CGI, and the music alone makes this movie, from Hans Zimmer's score to Steven Schwartz's songs. So regardless of you're religious or not, you'll certainly get something out of this movie. And the fact that this movie only got a couple Oscar nods, yet Shakespeare in Love got all the awards loved that year, is just baffling. As for my dog of the show, I already talked about one Val Kilmer movie, so why not talk about another one? This time being the Oscar flop from 2017 known as The Snowman.
Oh my God, the Snowman. You know what? That's actually my dog as well.
Poor Thomas Alfredson went from the masterpiece Let the Right One In to the overrated slog Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy to this dumpster fire. This movie tries to be this Zodiac-esque murder mystery, except not. All the
And you
cast
know what?
members are
Looking back at my 2017 list, looking back at my worst 2017 list, this should have been in the bottom 20.
All the cast members are completely wasted, whether it be Michael Fassbender and Charlotte Gainsbourg being bland as fuck protagonists with nothing interesting going for them, as well as J.K. Simmons and Val Kilmer barely being in this movie. The cinematography and music are bland as hell, and the editing is a complete joke. Scenes just happen without any cohesion, and there are certain sequences like the opening and ending fight where it looks like it was edited by a monkey, which is extremely
Right?
which is extremely baffling because this was edited by Thelma Shoemaker of all people. Almost like they forgot to shoot like 10 to 15%
Yeah,
of the
now
screenplay.
a Schoonmaker. Martin Scorsese, like the recurring editor of Martin Scorsese's masterpieces.
Almost like after they forgot to shoot like 10 to 15% of the screenplay, they brought her in to try and fail and salvage this. This might as well be my worst movie of 2017, solely because of how much of a mess and just not a complete movie this all is. And not saying a lot because I recently talked about the Emoji Movie a few episodes back, but at least that had a beginning, middle, and end. This thing just has nothing going for it. So that's why The Snowman is my dog of the show, and it might as well be the worst movie in Val Kilmer's career.
I And yeah, they should, Taz. They should. And no worries, dude. No worries. You didn't upset me. But yeah. And Soren, as much as I do agree with you that the Snowman sucks, the Emoji Movie I still think is the Emoji Movie as well as 50 Shades Shittier are still way worse in my opinion. As well as Transformers The Last Night. I still think they're way worse. Especially the Emoji Movie. Like that is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. And looking back at my worst of 2017 list, that should have been the Emoji Movie. Well, not only should the Snowman be my bottom 10, but it should have been. But the Emoji Movie is really the worst movie of 2017 for me. One of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. But yeah. As for my pick of the show, well, I already mentioned the shitty live action remake. How about mentioning a good Snow White film? Snow White, the original Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It may not be my favorite of Disney's animated movies they released, but this is definitely one I loved. This movie, I really, really, really love from start to finish. And it still holds up very well to this day with its colorful animation, brilliant voice acting, excellent writing, excellent directing, fantastic animation, and the songs feeling memorable and feeling like and the songs being very memorable. Whistle While You Work, the silly song, and of course Someday, and of course and of course oh god, it's that song that Snow White sing. Oh yeah, my someday my prince will come, and of course the ultimate iconic I ho. Yep, I really really loved. Yeah, it may not be my favorite animated movie of all time, but Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs definitely is one of Disney's best animated movies they've done, and one that I think deserves to be known as my pick of the show. And I promise, next time I'll reveal my top three Val Kilmer movies. So on my pick of the show. Yeah. Well, guys, and exactly, this is one movie that did not need to be remade, and it should be left alone. It should have been left alone. Well, guys, that's it. That's it for tonight's pod. That's it for today's podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed the podcast, and as always, be sure to subscribe to Soren's YouTube channel. The link is in the description below. Give him the love that he absolutely deserves, and make sure to check out his other podcast that he's in too. Oh, and if you're wondering, it it looks anyway. Anyway, and be sure to check out his other podcast too that he's in. What's it called again, Soren?
The popcorn panel.
The Popcorn Panel. Be sure to check that out as well. And hopefully, when we come back next week, when we come back in 2 weeks, hopefully the show will be a bit longer and we'll have more movies to talk about. So until then, until we see you all again until we see y'all again in 2 weeks for episode 58. I'm gonna end this podcast like I usually do. Thanks very much thanks for watching tonight's podcast, and we will see you all again next time. So long for now.